And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be found on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He dives.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases, MotleyRice.com, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com, and presented in part today by Palmetto Group Insurance. If you need insurance, or you might need insurance, you want to go to PalmettoGroupInsurance.com, owned by Jamie Richardson, who I found out this morning is leaving tomorrow to go fish the Keys. Must be nice, Jamie, if you're watching or listening to the program right now. I know he does every day, and he's going to go down there for a little boys weekend, fish and watch some golf and all that type of stuff, all the things that we're all envious of. So enjoy, my friend. And in the Keys, if you've ever fished the Keys to go offshore, it's only about 5 miles. Unlike here in the low country, about 60 miles. So a little bit of an easier trek out there to bring something home that you're proud of. So have fun.
All you got to do is go to the Keys. Once you get to the Keys, yeah, then you're close to offshore.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of guys that go to the Keys to fish, and they'll take the boat, they'll trailer the boat down. And these guys that I know that are going down there, you know, they're not taking anything under about 28 feet generally. So that's a haul with 28 feet behind you. And but where you're saving money is you're going 5 miles off and not 60 miles off. So that gas is a little bit better. So enjoy, Jamie. Fill up that freezer when you come home, and thank you for what you do for us. Palmetto Group Insurance. If you're looking for insurance, that's where you want to look. PalmettoGroupInsurance.com. Check it out. Make sure you check us out on the all-new app. If you haven't, download that. It's free, and you can find all of our top prospects in there, like Palmetto Group Insurance and I Help Consulting and Freeway Flyers and all these fun folks that we get to hang with day in and day out while you hang with us until 2 o'clock. JC Shurburtt will be here in a little while, so you can send us a comment in the Share Healthcare chat lines if you've got something for him. We will talk Gamecock football today. It's time. The spring game is next week, and there are some things to get into with that. The board of trustees could be shaken up. We got into some of this yesterday, so we're going to talk to JC about both of those items. In addition to hoops, the future of the basketball program on the men's side, we'll recap some of the ladies' stuff with him as well. So a lot to get to coming up here with the owner of the Big Spur. A day away from Tiger Woods and the Masters. And a day away from opening day. Thursday is going to be a blast, and the whole weekend will be a blast if you are a fan of sports. You thought last weekend was fantastic with all that Final Four stuff. This weekend almost matches it. Maybe it does. Maybe it supersedes it in some people's minds. So make sure you follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, and individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. Yeah, I matter of fact, I need to. This is going to sound a little strange because, Darren, we've been doing this for 2 years, and I'm not sure that you and I have ever opened up the show talking about soccer. But according to reports, and it looks like it is all but confirmed. It should be confirmed here in a minute. South Carolina will be departing Conference USA in soccer and joining the Sun Belt. And the reason for that, this is just an interesting little nugget. I know we don't have a ton of soccer fans out there, but there's a surface view of this. What? They're in the SEC. What are they doing? Well, there's 2 sponsored soccer programs in the SEC. Right. South Carolina is one of them on the men's side. The ladies are in the SEC, but Kentucky and Carolina are the only 2 schools that provide men's soccer. And with the Sun Belt bringing their conference, they're bringing soccer back into the conference. It's actually sucking Conference USA dry. A lot of the Conference USA soccer members are actually Sun Belt full-time members, athletic members, like Georgia State, Georgia Southern, and Coastal, and things like that. So they're going to naturally be back in their element in the Sun Belt, and then that's going to leave Conference USA with not enough teams to qualify for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, plus they just pulled 4 football teams over already from Conference USA too.
Right.
Or exactly. I think it's actually full membership. So I mean they're already pulling from Conference USA and kind of decimating them.
Yeah, exactly. And so this will revamp, soccer. I don't know if Kentucky it will be joining as well. I'm not sure, but South Carolina certainly fits in the footprint. And again, I'm not a soccer expert. We're going to get off of it. So don't, we're not going to spend all day talking about this, but I do know that those programs that are in the Sun Belt coming over from Conference USA and the ones that will kind of be revamped like Marshall, that it is a powerhouse league in college soccer. Like it's a powerhouse league. These are like really proud, tradition-rich type programs. Carolina, of course, just hired a new coach last year, so they're kind of revamping theirs. And so they're going to be in an outstanding league again in soccer. So we'll kind of keep our eyes on that. I mean, it's something that's going on, and I got a media advisory about it. I don't even know when that was. First thing this morning, about 8 o'clock. And I was like, wait a second, what? What's going on here? So hey, we figure we pass that along to you. So if you're a big fan of soccer, there you go. Congratulations, and you can check them out in the Fun Belt. But to that point, Darren, you've been saying this for, as long as we've been working together, which is a couple of years, that the Sun Belt overall was a league that was growing in strength in all sports. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out how good they are in baseball. I mean, Coastal Carolina 6 years ago won a national championship. And, look at Troy. Skylar Meade is over at Troy. Look at what they're doing. Look at what's happening down there at South Alabama in baseball. Mark Calvey's the head coach there, and he's done an amazing job. Georgia Southern, of course, tradition-rich baseball program. Georgia State is really coming on. It's all those schools. But then look what they've done in football. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, Coastal again, but I mentioned all those other schools and so much other stuff going on. The basketball league has gotten so much better. App State has joined. This is outstanding. So there's a lot of good stuff going on in the Sun Belt. They're a competitor and considered a group of 5 league, Darren, but they're pretty good. They've built up a nice arsenal of programs in all of their sports.
I can't speak to Sunbelt soccer prowess, but I can pull up the rankings from last year, and I'm way down the list. I still have not seen a Sunbelt team in the final rankings. Where I'm at the 50s. I've passed SoCon teams. I've passed Conference USA teams. Kentucky was decent last year. I haven't seen a Sunbelt team. So I have no idea how good Sunbelt soccer is.
They've been shut down. They've been shut down. That's why. All right. All the teams that are coming back into the Sunbelt are all these really good teams that I'm talking about. So, and hopefully Carolina could be one of those.
Marshall was top 20.
Yeah, Marshall's
Georgia
one.
State was top 30. It's fine. It's not a great league. It's fine.
Hey,
so good for them. They have a home. They can go play. Great.
I'll lean on the experts for the. I was reading the expert. I was just curious. I started reading about it this morning. They're tradition-rich programs, is what it is. They've won a lot and stuff like that. So, anyways,
good for them. Exactly.
It's 12:09 here. The Masters starts
Glad
tomorrow.
you can play.
You know, the Masters starts tomorrow. All right, to the Share Healthcare chat lines, we go. Hey, Kyle, what's happening, my man? Hope everybody's been safe. By the way, the weather yesterday was pretty brutal. I know that Mount Pleasant is dealing with a bunch of downed trees. They're still trying to get off of roadways. We had some crazy stuff swing by here, and so that was pretty wild. So hopefully everybody out there, not just in our neck of the woods, but across the state, Georgia, wherever you may be, North Carolina, hopefully everybody's been safe from some of this wild weather that's coming through. But Adam, do we need to update the intro now that we have another net? Don't worry, it's coming. Yeah, we're working on it. Adam is a different Adam. Excited for the first Carolina calls with Coach Parrish. Yeah, I am too. You know, leading into the press conference, we had heard that he wouldn't win it, and he did win that. And he's been cool, man. Like, I've been kind of following along. Like, I know the social media team and will always, ramp it up a little bit for you, but I've been kind of following along and poking around where I can to learn as much as I can possibly learn about Lamont Paris. He's a cool cat. He's one of those under the radar guys that, just you kind of like, man, dang, he's through a haymaker. Where'd that come from? That type of dude. So I'm with you. I'm excited to see what he's got to say when he's got a whole hour to talk and tell people about himself and his program. I think it's going to be very, very interesting.
It should be a more comfortable setting for him, because I still don't think he looked comfortable at the press conference, and I thought it was somewhat of an overwhelming experience for him. So my opinion hasn't changed at all. So this should be a little bit more of a comfortable setting, because it gives him a chance to kind of build a rapport. I'm assuming Derek's hosting it. So it gives him a chance to kind of build a rapport there in a more relaxed type of setting and kind of lean on Derek a little bit. So if you think he won the press conference, I would anticipate that this is better. I would expect this to be better.
I would too. I would too. Absolutely. He'll do it with Derek Scott, who can make anybody comfortable. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. Craig, you're right. It is the best time of the year. Brian Beatty. Hey, Brian, what's up, man? Do you guys think that Tiger can compete with these guys at this stage? I do. I'm look, for 10, 12 years since everything kind of went crazy in 2009, so I guess 13, but really since he started playing golf again about 12 years ago after all that the personal stuff came out, all we've done is listen to everybody question Tiger's career, whether he should play or shouldn't play or can play or can't play. And then he went out and won the Masters in 2019. And I've long been on his side of the dude. If he's locked in and focused and he wants to go play, he can win. I get the skepticism out there. Those who don't believe that he can, I understand it. He had quite the drought there for a while as he went through injury after injury after injury, dealing with personal things and stuff like that. I get it. Nobody's wrong to have that opinion. It's fine. I just don't, because I'm a believer in this cat and what he says. And what he says is I can play. And if I feel like I can play, I feel like I can win. And so we'll see. Am I predicting him to win? No, I'm not. But if he won, we'd be shocked. But after the dust settled, I would be like, yeah, I'm really not shocked. It's Tiger wins.
Oh, if he wins, it's the most impressive win of his career. It blows away 2019. I mean, I think we will look back on it and say, oh my God, nobody thought he was going to be here. Jim Nantz just said about 30 days ago he was talking to Tiger and never had an inclination that Tiger was planning, thinking, able to be here at the Masters. So I think if he wins, I think it will be the cream of the crop of the Tiger Woods stories to this point. I mean, we've learned really not to bet against him, but at the same time, I think it's wild to think he can actually go win this thing. He thinks he can, otherwise he wouldn't be there. Yeah. But to me, even though the reports are he's hitting the ball great, he looks good, it's still wild to think he can win. I think he makes the cut. I think he's discussed. You're going to see almost every shot, probably every single shot he hits on the course, but I don't think he's pushing top 10, anything like that. But I'm not betting against him. I bet for him to make the cut, in fact, before those lines flipped on their head yesterday.
Well, I looked at my bookie again this morning, and the odds are up from 50 to 1 to 40 to 1 that he'll win it. So obviously money has come in on Tiger Woods.
Yeah, that happened early last week. Well, I guess when it became clear that he was at least trying, those odds dropped quickly. And then yesterday, when I mentioned the odds of making the cut were plus 120, so put 100 down, get 120 back. Those were eye-opening odds. And by the next time I looked, which was later in the afternoon, they flipped to minus 130 or minus 150 or something like that.
Yeah. Look, man, had he not won in 2019, Darren, I don't think that there would be as many in the Tiger Woods boat holding out hope that he can do it again. But when he won in 2019, it turned the page on his career again. It's almost like none of what happened 10 years before that mattered anymore. It was Tiger Woods reinvented. Mm-hmm. And now every time he steps on the course, I wouldn't go as far as to say is every time he steps on the course that people think or believe that it is, what it once was. I mean, we all remember those days 20 years ago. Every time he was on the course, he did win. I mean, he was going to win. Like, if you bet 20 years ago against Tiger Woods, you were such an idiot. I mean, it didn't matter if you were only going to win $2 on whatever bet you placed. Mm-hmm. If you bet money somewhere else, you were going to lose. So, but those days are gone. But winning the 2019 Masters, it brought that feel back, and because it's the Masters, what is said publicly is not incorrect. It's spot on. He knows the course inside and out. Mm-hmm. And there is so the only thing that anybody is questioning is can he sustain 4 rounds of golf?
Can he walk it? Yeah.
Yeah. Can he sustain 2? Can he get through 2? And my feel is if he makes the cut, which I think he will, mm-hmm. if he makes the cut and he's like not barely making the cut, like he's made it, he's cleared that hurdle. I think my prediction yesterday will stand. I think he will make noise. That doesn't mean I think he will be in it at the end, but it'll be one of those things where you look up and you go, well, the winner was 11 under and Tiger finished at 3 under par or 4 under par. Wow, what a showing a year removed from that mess that happened in California.
Like I said yesterday, if he's there on Sunday, if he could be 50 shots back, which he won't be if he's there on Sunday. But one of the storylines would be, what's Tiger going to do on Sunday? So if he's there on Sunday, there will be a lot of talk of what's Tiger doing on Sunday and can he make a push? And especially if he's even farther back, absolutely. I mean, he's going off early. He could absolutely make a push and make some waves and have people saying, hey, look at what Tiger just did. But look, I don't want to bet against the guy. He did say in his press conference that he walked 27 holes on one day when Charlie was out there, because in his words, Charlie just couldn't resist the par 3 contest when it was out there when they played. So he walked 27 holes. Now he's going day by day, going 9. He says the recovery is going well. He wouldn't be doing this if he thought 4 days walking Augusta was going to put him on the sidelines. He's doing this because he fully believes that he can physically handle this. Then the question is, where's his game? Fred Couples said it's in a good spot. Justin Thomas said it's in a good spot. He hasn't played in a year. I don't see him around the top. I'm not going to sit there and bet against him. I'd be surprised if he's around the top, but I do think he makes the cut.
2 people that I'm not going to speak for Darren, but that know way much more golf than I do will join us both tomorrow and Friday. You're going to love it. If you've seen them paired together on our program before, speaking of pairings, you're going to understand why it's so good. Both Meredith Taylor and Scott Glaze will join us at 1:30 tomorrow, 1:30 on Friday as well. Tiger Woods will tee off tomorrow at 10:34 a.m. as part of that 3-man pairing with Louis Oosthuizen and Joaquin Niemann. That is one of 4 featured groups. Adam Scott, Scotty Scheffler, and Tony Finau will also hit the tee box at 10:56 a.m. tomorrow. 1:30 is DJ Billy Horschel and Colin Morikawa. Jordan Spieth, Victor Hovland, and Xander Schauffele will be in that 4th feature group at 1:52 p.m. tomorrow. Those feature groups you can watch all 18 holes that will be streamed. So looking forward to that. I know that I'll be one of those that is watching, and really excited to hear Meredith and Scott Glaze. Meredith, former all SEC golfer at South Carolina, and Scotty is the golf pro out there at Stone Ferry, with two of the brightest minds I've ever met in this sport. So I can't wait to kind of listen to them break that down both days. Now, let me do a favor for people like my Uncle Bill.
Mm-hmm.
I love my Uncle Bill. He's the greatest. And if he's listening or watching, he's up in the mountains of North Georgia and just doing his thing, probably out there taking care of some of his crops or whatever he's doing. Let me do this for Uncle Bill and all those in his camp. Let's tip our caps to those who will turn on the TV on Sunday and get really frustrated when Tiger Woods is 8 or 9 shots off the lead and all they're talking about is Tiger Woods and not the leaders.
Oh my God, that's going to drive me crazy. I'll throw something at my TV. I want to see Tiger. But it's not going to happen that bad, because if he's 8 shots back, he's way ahead of the lead groups.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, but you know how it is. Like there will still be the Tiger interjection all day. They're still going to follow every shot he hits. That's every shot that he hits, 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds, however many plays this week, it will be on TV. You will not miss a Tiger shot. But I always love getting my, because look, he respects Tiger, but I love my Uncle Bill's old school approach to things, and I'm so glad I brought him into the conversation, because he said this for years. Damn it, this guy's in the lead, and I'm sitting here watching Tiger, who's 10 shots off, who barely he doesn't have a prayer, and all they're doing is breaking down everything that he did when he hit it into the woods, and this cat's up here putting for eagle, and I can't even watch it live, and I'm like, well, you got a point. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. They've done a better job over the years, and Darren, you're a TV guy and you get it. The story, as much as we want it to be the leader, will always still be Tiger when he's in it. So they have to find a way to balance it. But I don't at all discount anybody or I couldn't tell anybody that they're wrong in thinking that way or feeling that way. I think you got every right to feel like that. It's just the nature of the beast.
You should. If you're watching the Masters, you want to see, at that point, if Tiger's 8 shots back and there is it doesn't even have to be that tight. I mean, the top of the leaderboard matters more than Tiger by a lot on Sunday afternoon. So if he's 8 shots back, number one, I have no idea how many holes ahead he currently is from the leadership group and the guys who are in the lead. So at that point, you might not see every Tiger shot live, because like you said, they have done a better job, and they'll revert back to, hey, let's focus on Rahm and Cam Smith over here on the green who are battling it out. And, if Tiger's hitting a flop shot down 8 or 9 strokes on the 13th, we'll get to it. It might not be live, but we'll get to it, because Sunday at the Masters or any major, I mean, really, it's true for any golf tournament, but certainly a major, certainly the Masters, it's as compelling of TV as there is. So you better be on that, and let us know what's going on with Tiger if he's 8, 9 strokes back, but you better be on the compelling, biggest story of the day. And I do think they will be.
They will. Absolutely. There's no doubt. I mean, there's no doubt about that. The Masters is still, at the end of the day, all about the winner. And Tiger's first one to tell you that. I am not bigger than this tournament. You need to pay attention to those that are in the lead, and he just hopes he's in the lead. And I know CBS hopes he's in the lead, that's for sure, or at least he's contending for it, because their ratings will go not through the roof. They will go through the stratosphere. I mean, they will be in a land you've never heard of, in a planet that doesn't exist that we know of.
It'll be one of the highest rated. It'll be the highest rated golf telecast of all time if Tiger Woods is in the hunt, legitimately in the hunt. I'll throw this out right now. I don't even know what the record is. If he's legitimately in the hunt on Sunday, I bet you it's the best rated golf telecast single day of all time.
I would not bet against you. I wouldn't take that bet. The Masters 2019, we remember what happened there. That Sunday, you stopped what you were doing. I don't know what some of you were doing. I probably know what Craig Godwin was doing, because he's a golf nut. But many of you out there, it didn't matter what you were doing. You could have been in the middle of anything, and it was like, yeah, let me cut the TV on here. You remember the Tour Championship in 2018 when he won that in Atlanta at East Lake?
Yeah, and the crowd
The gallery?
swarmed
Yeah.
him. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's if you could get away with that at Augusta, which heck, they might just let you get away with it. It would be that on the juice. I mean, it's got a chance, but we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see how he plays tomorrow. He's going to tee off again at 10:34 a.m. with Louis Oosthuizen and Joaquin Niemann. I have a sneaky feeling this week. John Rahm, Justin Thomas are the betting favorites, and this guy isn't far off. I got a sneaky feeling. Keep an eye on Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, he's the number one golfer in the world. I think he's won 3 or 4 times already. So if there's ever a time to really pay attention to Scheffler, it's this.
Keep an eye on him.
John Rahm has said, at least on one occasion, I believe more than once, that all he cares about is chasing the majors record. And he hasn't been at the top of his game. I expect Rahm to play very, very well. I think Justin Thomas is going to play very well, and the fact that Bones is on his bag only helps him. And like Rahm said, you ask Tiger for advice, JT's just about the only one who's getting it because that's how close they are. But those are 3 absolutely to keep an eye on. Cam Smith's another one. I think Niemann has a chance to kind of hang around as well.
Look, hey, Brooks Koepka, guys.
You
know, he's one of the biggest names in the sport, but he's kind of been lost in the shuffle a little bit over for a little while. What's his hair look like? Is it still blonde?
Last night, yeah, but he
never mind.
He trimmed it so you can't see it in his hat. So wherever they were playing, where it was super windy, it was 2 weeks ago, I think 2-3. But yeah, I think it was the World Golf Championship, and he takes his hat off, and it's like, oh wow, there it is again. That was Sawgrass. That's when it was at the Players when you could actually notice that. But yeah, don't discount Brooks Koepka, and keep an eye on Spieth, because Spieth has a long history of being right in the mix at the Masters.
True, but you can't. The Masters won't allow you to win the tournament with that type of hair. So Koepka's out. He'll make the cut, but he won't win. Sorry, guys. If you're betting on, I'm just kidding. I don't know, but the blonde tips that's not for me.
By the way, par 3 contest today is it is delayed. I've seen reports that it's off, but they'll try and get it in. There's more storms that are rolling through.
Yeah, I've been watching it, and they cut off on me over here. So during the break, I'll try to find something on it again. Last night, Clemson beat Georgia 4-3. That's a big midweek win for the Tigers, who are now one shy of 20. The Dogs were 17th in the country coming into the game. College baseball now 22-7 is Georgia after dropping that one. Clemson 19-9. So a big win there for the Tigers, and we'll see if that can kind of keep them on track, because it's been a little bit of a struggle lately, as we all know, in ACC play. We'll see what things look like coming up this weekend. South Carolina and North Carolina are going to play tonight in Charlotte. That's the plan, unless weather interrupts that once again. Gamecocks are really in need of a midweek win. They did already win in Charlotte. They beat App State up there. They were down 6-1 and scored 8 straight runs to win the game 9-6 a few weeks ago. So maybe BB&T Ballpark, or whatever they call it now, will bring some luck to the side of South Carolina, who is under 500 and has Georgia and Ole Miss on deck on the weekend. So the 17th ranked Dogs come to Founders Park this weekend. A top 10 Ole Miss team comes to town next weekend. South Carolina has struggled in the midweek, in large part because let's just face it, when you can't pitch and you can't hit in the midweek, you're going to lose. That's just in baseball and generally. So, they just haven't had a solid midweek starter, and for whatever reason, offensively, they've struggled. But maybe playing better competition, Darren, will get their attention tonight if they can get on the field and play. We'll see. Mercer at Charleston Southern last night was postponed. PC at CFC was postponed, and Wilmington at Coastal was postponed as well. A quick score to toss at you because it's wild. USC Upstate's having a nice year, but they did not have a nice night against Georgia Tech. They lost 27-4.
I saw that. I was watching the Clemson game and I saw that score crawl across, and I did a double take. I was like, what? Huh? Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So gonna need to get that straightened out. Go ahead.
I said it was a long night.
Yeah, long night, that's for sure. Going to try to get into some Major League Baseball today. Corey McCartney, he is going to join us tomorrow at 12:30 and every Thursday thereafter to discuss the Braves and the big leagues. And I think some people are forgetting that the Braves, in addition to signing Matt Olson, have also signed a legitimate closer in Kenley Jensen. Formerly of the Dodgers. Basically, they didn't trade, but basically kind of a trade. You give me Jensen, I give you Freddie, and that's kind of how it worked out. The Braves are reloaded and ready to go, and so looking forward to speaking with Corey tomorrow about Atlanta and what their season will look like, what they will compete against in the NL East. I think it's outstanding. The Mets have made a lot of noise in the offseason, and they got a chance to make a lot of noise in the season as well. The Nationals, it's hard to discount Washington.
Oh, I'll discount them for you.
Are you?
Oh, God. I mean, everything's going to have to break the Nationals' way. Everything.
I think they like the young guys. I'm with you. Look, I don't think they're going to win the division. I don't even know that they'll finish in the top 3, but I don't know that means that they're going to finish 40 games under 500 or something like that. I think they've got a chance, but it's going to take them a while to get going. It's not. They're not going to come out of the gates roaring. I don't believe. But
no, the Braves scare me. The Phillies scare me. The Mets are already Metsing with DeGrom on the shelf. We don't know how healthy Scherzer is, although he is currently scheduled to go Friday against the Nationals. The Mets are still the Mets at this point, as long as we keep seeing these injuries pile up. But Braves, Phillies, Mets. I mean, that's that division.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yep. I agree. And the Marlins don't have Jeter anymore, and they think they can do it without him. So we'll see what they do. But the rest of baseball, I'm just fired up to see it, and I'm glad it's going to be back tomorrow. It kind of stinks that it's back on the day of the Masters. Their ratings, no matter what channel, locally, regionally, nationally, they're all going to take a hit because of golf. But at least baseball is back on the field, and I'd take baseball opening on the day of the Masters better than it not opening at all. So I'm good with that.
Yes.
But Major League Baseball returns.
Strange to me that the Reds are in Atlanta to open up the season, because the Reds traditionally have one of the most grandiose opening day celebrations in Cincinnati. I mean, there's a lot of old school baseball folks who tell you opening day is when the Reds play at home, right? Reds play at home during the day. That is opening day for baseball. The rest of baseball can open and consider opening day whatever they want, but they're opening in Atlanta.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hey, look, a guy that you and I both worked with at ESPN in Charleston was a big Reds guy, Ted Byrne, big Reds guy, and he used to tell me all about all their traditions and stuff, and he was a big baseball guy, but I had never really realized that till he pointed it out. I guess I did, but I never really thought about it. But yeah, they're in Atlanta, and you can watch the game as well at 8:00 on ESPN2. Now, is that going to black me out or what?
Oh, that's a good question.
So.
I'm not sure if that's a blackout game or not. I'm not sure. I know the national.
It's 2022.
Yeah, I know the Max Scherzer first start as a Met will be against the Nationals, and it'll be on Apple TV, and it won't be locally televised or on an app or individually televised or anything like that. It's an Apple TV broadcast.
Yeah, Friday night is the debut of Friday Night Apple TV Baseball. They've got 2 games. That one, New York at Washington and Houston at LA at 9:30 that night. So there's 2.
Nice.
So that's cool. Certainly cool. All right, 12:34 here on a pretty dreary Wednesday afternoon. Expecting some more weather to move through and hopefully get the heck out of here. Again, thoughts with all of you. If you know anybody in Allendale, South Carolina, in Allendale County, they got it pretty rough yesterday. That tornado tore right through town, and so thoughts and prayers with all of those people and the damage that they're picking up from. I don't think I've heard of any casualties, but there have been some injuries over there, and So our thoughts and prayers are with them. USC Salkehatchie is located in Allendale, and hopefully all the students over there, everybody's good to go. And hopefully all this weather is moving right on out. We're waiting JC Shurburtt. We are going to hit a timeout. He had a meeting at noon today that he was hoping to be out of by 12:30. Have no fear. We will not short you on JC time today. We'll keep him as long as we need to keep him. So we are going to hit a quick timeout. When we return, I do have to tell you, Darren, about something, a new show that I stumbled upon. With all this crazy sports stuff going on out there, I found a new show. You mentioned Apple, and it is an Apple show. Oh. And if you haven't heard about it, I'm going to tell you about it, and you need to watch it. So that is first, and then JC as well when we return on the JB and Goldwater show.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
It's the best time of the year on the sports calendar, and there's no better place to soak it all in than your spring headquarters. Dog and Duck, with 3 area locations in Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. Until May, $5 pints of Wicked Weed Brews and Devil's Backbone. Again, until May. Patio seating, happy hour daily, family bingo on Monday, the Duck Truck Double Burger every Wednesday, rib night on Friday. It's the place to be for the best wings in town, the best sports everywhere you look. Dog and Duck, 3 area locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater show and the Big Gamecock Preview show.
Hey, South Carolina, what's going on? This is Patrick Davis, and you are listening to my friends JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater show.
Your love lifting me higher than I've ever been.
All right, 12:38. Wednesday, April the 6th. Easter's right around the corner, everybody. Looking forward to that. Quick programming note for us. We will be off the air next Thursday and Friday. Darren is going to travel, and so we'll take a long Easter weekend. And we know that next Saturday is the spring game for South Carolina. We'll preview that on Wednesday next week with JC Shurburtt. So
it's Passover too. So we're heading out to
Passover.
Yeah. So heading out to LA to be with the family out there.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. What's the weather like out there? Same as always, 70 and sunny.
I don't know. Haven't looked. It's a week away. I'll figure it out.
All right, waiting on JC Shurburtt to pop in here in just a little bit from the BigSpur.com. Football, hoops, and more is in that conversation. The Board of Trustees situation will be discussed, certainly, with JC. We did hit on it yesterday. We hit on it with him last week, but there's been more movement since then. So looking forward to having that conversation. In addition to South Carolina and North Carolina tonight, the College of Charleston is scheduled to play at Coastal Carolina at 6 p.m. Charleston Southern crosstown rivalry at the Citadel at 6 p.m. as well. All of these games are weather permitting, of course. There is more rain and thunderstorms potentially moving through the low country and the state today, which it has already done, but more should be gathering itself up and together soon. So we will see how that impacts the college baseball slate.
Yep.
I was in search of last night a new show. And I mean, we have things coming up. We have Ozark in 23 days, the final.
Oh, I still haven't watched the last release of Ozark. I'm behind on everything because of college basketball. Everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're going to have some time.
Yeah.
After the Masters this weekend, you'll be good. You'll be in the clear.
Yeah.
So you need to get caught up. I mean, there's some stuff, I think.
Billions too. I'm behind.
Things. I got bored with Billions.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I felt, and maybe this is just reflective of how smart I am not. I couldn't understand it anymore.
Yeah.
I got lost with the intellect and I don't know. I just got bored with it. I said, forget it. I don't care anymore.
When I get back into it and watch the first couple episodes of the latest season, I'll let you know if I agree.
Okay.
It's been a while for me now.
Yeah, I don't know. And generally that's not me. I want to start one and I want to always finish it, but I couldn't do it. I just got out. So, but last night I stumbled across a show that has been running for, I think, 4 or 5 weeks. And it's called We Crashed with Jared Leto and Anne Hathaway.
Mm-hmm.
And they both were the executive producers. It is about a company that is still big today called WeWork. Have you ever heard of it?
I think so. I'm not very familiar with it.
It's like a $40 billion company.
Oh.
And it's the story of the guy who started it and his business partner, which we got through. I think there's 5 or 6 episodes out. So we got through 2 last night. And it's the story of how it got started. But this the idea around WeWork was that they needed business partners to invest, and they would find these big, enormous spaces in New York is where it started. And then from there, they'd venture out to major cities around the country and around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it was reinventing the workspace, basically. So you could be just a single, person entrepreneur working whatever business you have, you do on your own. You could have a small company of 8, 10 clients, 20 to 30 different size workspaces where everybody goes and rents out different parts of this building on different floors or whatever it is. And they provide all these incentives to be there: ping pong and a bar and air hockey and, game room and all types of things. So you're mingling with other businesses, 1, 2, 10, 20, 50 person businesses that are all being housed in this one building or on this one floor with all these open spaces that everybody has access to. I mean, it's a neat idea, especially for places like New York, these major cities that have all types of things that I've never even heard of. So you and I could be doing our show over in one corner, and there could be 50 other businesses that also rent that floor.
Mm-hmm.
And we get off the air, go sit at the bar with them, go back to work, do whatever we're doing. It's good. It's really good. I mean, Jared Leto is a weirdo, but he is an excellent actor in this show, and Anne Hathaway's spectacular always. So I would watch it, Darren. If you think about it, watch it. Any of you that are looking for a show, it's on Apple TV. It's called We Crashed.
Oh, I know there are a couple of workspaces in and around Charleston that are at least similar to that, not on that scale, but various businesses are located in, in pockets and offices of some building. Speaking of shows, I've never seen that one, by the way. Joe Buck obviously left Fox to go to ESPN. His last two appearances on Fox, are you aware of what they are? It's not sports.
No, I don't think.
One of them. Fortunately for me, Grayson is into both of these shows. One of them is The Masked Singer. So he was unmasked either the day before or the day after the ESPN announcement came out. He was one of the Masked Singers. He did not win, but that was number one. It was obviously taped before the announcement, and that aired on Fox. So then there was reports, this is going to be the last thing Joe Buck ever does for Fox. But wait, Domino Masters is also on Fox. It's super cool. They build these massive dominoes, these groups. It's a competition and then tumble them all over. And who does play-by-play of dominoes tumbling over? Joe Buck.
Really?
Yes. It's hilarious. You can hear the snark in his voice doing dominoes. I can only imagine what he got paid to voice over these domino knockover sessions.
Well, and he is still only doing football, right?
Mm-hmm.
For ESPN?
Yes.
Nothing else?
Correct.
I wonder if he'll be involved in any way at or with the NFL draft. Is the NFL draft on ESPN this year? I think it usually is, right? Or is it on the NFL Network? It's on ESPN.
Yeah, it's both. There's massive coverage of the draft. Maybe they generally don't use the Monday night guy. They generally don't use play-by-play guys for it.
No, but it'd be a good place to introduce him.
No, yeah, that would be true.
I almost think that last year it was on ABC. I feel like it was on ABC last year. It doesn't matter.
It's very possible. I know NFL Network carries it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. We'll look to see Joe Buck in the NFL draft, which is coming up in just a couple of weeks, which this isn't something we've gotten much into, but I did see, I think the Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh has moved up some draft boards like into the top 10.
Because his hand mysteriously grew.
Is that why?
Yeah. From the time they measured it at the combine, and then I think it was his pro day. Somehow, some way, that hand was like an eighth of an inch or maybe larger than it was. And I guess you can do some like stretching exercises and whatnot to actually do that. But that actually made a difference in the eyes of some.
You're kidding me.
No, dead serious. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Okay.
Like an eighth of an inch of a hand. Oh, now we're gonna take him.
And wasn't he like projected if he went in the first round to be at the bottom of the first round?
There have been some thoughts that Washington would flirt with him. Is it going to be him? Is it going to be Malik Willis at a Liberty? I don't know if it's a great quarterback draft though.
Oh, it's not. It's terrible.
No. Yeah.
I think it's awful.
I don't know where he'll end up.
It
wouldn't shock me if the Commanders take him and he turns out to be a total bust.
They've got ESPN. Todd McShay put this out yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Has him at 6 going to Carolina. I don't understand that. If you're the Panthers, I don't really know what the Panthers, and I'm not a Panthers expert nor an NFL expert. I'm not really sure what they're trying to accomplish at the quarterback position. I mean, they still have Sam Darnold. They've discussed bringing Cam Newton back. Why? I don't know. I'm not sure what maybe Kenny Pickett becomes an outstanding NFL quarterback. I don't know. I don't know that many people out there see that. It just seems forced to me. Either trade for somebody that I know they wanted Watson. They didn't get him. So either get somebody you want in the trade market or get through another year and then get somebody next. And this upcoming quarterback class is going to be way better than this one.
Yeah. Fill a gap. Find a way to fill a gap through this year. I mean, if you're taking a guy at 6, you're projecting him to be a franchise guy.
Yeah, you don't draft a quarterback in the top 10, Darren, if the guy isn't any good. Like you got, in my opinion, you got to be surefire.
Yeah, I mean, maybe David Tepper is fully sold. Maybe Matt Rule is fully sold. But hey, look, if you're going to pick him at 6, your goal by making anyone the 6th selection is that he is a mainstay for your team.
I'm not sure. I'm looking at, and these are always never right, but oftentimes they're close. I don't even know that I'm looking at anybody in the first round. Okay, maybe a couple of guys. Jordan Davis from Georgia is going to play a long time in the NFL. Stingley from LSU is outstanding. I mean, look, there's a lot of great players in here, and what do we know? I mean, I like Andrew Booth from Clemson, but he's projected 25th to the Bills. That would be outstanding. But I don't know that there is. I mean, those guys and everybody else. Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon is probably the best end in the draft. Him or Walker from Georgia. I like Thibodeau. I mean, everybody likes Aiden Hutchinson. I like the kid from Oregon better than all of them, to be honest with you. But that's me, and nobody asked my opinion. So I just don't know that there is, like, this draft has the least quote unquote star power from a PR standpoint now that we have had entering it in, I don't even know how long, as long as I can remember. Now, this might turn out to be the best draft we've seen in 20 years, and we're not going to know that for another 3 or 4 or 5 years to see what happens with the players in it. But they're going into the draft, you don't have this like group of names that you think, oh, everybody can't wait to see what happens with them. I'm not sure of one name that everybody just can't wait to see where they go on day one.
To be honest, the way I look at it all, the NFL draft, I'm never one who scours over mock drafts. I mean, I'm more of a, let's kind of wait and see. Now that I'm more into the gambling space, I mean, it's heavily, heavily talked about now. Especially, there were rumblings and discussions about it as basketball season was winding down. But now that it's over, and now that this is the next big thing, I mean, it's Masters, it's the NFL draft, and it's baseball futures. So there seems to be, at least from a gambling perspective on the draft, more of a comfort level, because there's more information that's out there. Guys have access to general managers and presidents, and when you generally start seeing some of these numbers pop up on betting boards, it's because they have some pretty good feelers that are out there. But I mean, just pulling it up now, yeah. I mean, Thibodeau, however you want to pronounce that name, and Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, those are the names that have been talked about. I've seen a buzz about the Ohio State receivers that are going to go higher maybe than some project. I mean, it's not one that fully excites me, this draft.
Well, I know, pertaining specifically to our state, I mean, there's only, in most draft boards out there, there's only one player on almost all of them, unless something happens, right, that is projected to go in the first 2 rounds from either Clemson or South Carolina, and that's Andrew Booth. The Gamecocks don't have anybody in the first 2 rounds in most projections. Clemson only has Booth that I've seen. So that's strange. Like, generally that's not, I mean, Clemson obviously the last few years has put a bunch of guys in there, and you heard a bunch of names called in the first couple of rounds. Carolina always has at least a guy or two, and they don't have anybody, it doesn't seem like, this year. So according to the quote unquote experts, but we'll see what happens. Hey, Marion says in the Share Healthcare chat lines that a tornado came through Manning, beautiful Manning, South Carolina. Oh no, took the roof off of the Walmart. They showed water all on the floor. That stinks. I know that Walmart in Manning is key to that town, so I hope they can get it fixed here soon. Thoughts and prayers are with those in Manning. I love Manning, South Carolina. It's a great town here in our beautiful state, where this guy hails from, JC Shurburtt, who is just getting out of a meeting and onto the air with us. We only have a couple of minutes left, JC, but we are going to definitely talk football today with you, and board stuff, and certainly get into some hoops. But how you doing, bud?
Doing well. Nice to be with you today. I apologize that that meeting was scheduled, and when you got a bunch of people that have to be on the call, you can't really reschedule it. For JB and Goldwater, no offense. I mean, I could. If I were running it, I could, but unfortunately, I wasn't the one that called that today. But good meeting, and good to be with you.
All right, because we only have a few minutes left in this segment, the first thing I'll ask you about, because we're going to come right back to football to lead off hour number 2, is the Gamecocks taking wide receiver Corey Rucker in the transfer portal. I have been a little bit out of the loop, so I'd like to learn more about him. What do you know about this young man?
Well, the one thing that stands out about Rucker is he's from the state of Mississippi. And I continue to talk about the Gamecocks expanding their recruiting base to different states. And when you think about it, Mississippi has a lot of good players. He's from Yazoo City.
Oh,
he's 6 foot, 203 pounds. He's fast, quick, probably a lot like Josh Vann, maybe a little bit more electric. This past season, a big season, 59 receptions for 816 yards, and a touchdown, only one touchdown reception, but really productive year for, I guess they're called the Red Wolves now. I guess they used to be the Indians. But for Mr. Champions of Life, and he had some big games. Texas State, 8 receptions, ULM in a win, 7 receptions for 103 yards. Had 9 for 138 in their opener last year. I mean, he's a guy against ULM on a Saturday in 2020 during the year that nobody played defense. 9 receptions for 310 yards and 4 touchdowns and a 48-15 win. I'm looking at his stats. So productive guy, good yards per catch. Obviously, you'd like a little more touchdowns from last year, but when you talk about this receiving core, I felt personally that, man, if they could add one more proven receiver to this group, it could really start to worry about it less, because you've added Juice Wells. You got Josh Vann back. Xavier Legette's having a good spring. Amarian Brown had a good bowl game. Jaheim Bell is essentially a wide receiver. You got Landon Sampson coming in. You have Austin Stogner at tight end, who's part of the passing game. Juju McDowell can split out. Lavoisier Carroll can split out. So you start looking at all these guys and you're like, well, this is a fundamentally different group Justin Stepp has to work with. I didn't even mention E.J. Jenkins coming back. And then some guys like Rico Powers who have never played, may not. But this is just another proven guy at that position. And then he's, from Mississippi. So now you got 2 from Mississippi. In this class. Well, you combine that with Stone Blanton. And you start to kind of go, hey, well, maybe they can go pick off 1 or 2 from the Magnolia State every now and then. And that's good for your recruiting when you're able to go in to other states and get players people want. That's another player that you don't have to fight, 35 schools in Atlanta over. You know what I'm saying? When you can go do that in some of these other states. So I thought it was a good pickup all the way around. And, certainly looking forward to seeing this revamped receiving core this season. It's been an issue the past 2 years, just not having enough guys. So looking forward to seeing what they can do. And the excuses for not having a good offense this coming season are dwindling quickly.
Well, they've had enough guys on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't had enough guys contributing in a positive way. I don't know if any of you guys are by the way, you really made a big mistake being from the South. I can't believe you did it. There are only 2 S's in Mississippi. You know that, right? It's Mississippi. Yeah. Don't, I don't know how many people I've told this. Don't go to Mississippi and say Mississippi. You will, yeah, you're not going to want the catfish that you're ordering. I assure you. Uncle Bubba's tooth may be stuck in there somewhere. I don't know if anybody else does this. And we got to go, but I always think it's fun. Craig says he has family from Yazoo City. That's where I'm getting at. I always go to, when I hear a place I've never heard of, I go to Google Maps and I go to try to find the downtown area and see what it looks like. I just enjoy doing that. Yazoo City is pretty cool. They have their own Rainbow Row like we have here in South Carolina. Isn't that neat? That's pretty neat. A good old fashioned southern town. It's literally close to nothing, but not too far from Jackson, I guess. But so welcome to Columbia, South Carolina, Mr. Rucker. No relation to Darius, from what we understand. Who should be playing a free concert here soon, from what I understand, is at the Colonial Life Arena, but that will be announced later. All right, JC, definitely want to talk about Spencer Rattler when we return. You mentioned Antoine Wells is now going by Juice, so they'll have a Juice and a Juju on the field at the same time sometimes. That's interesting. And we got more to get to, some defensive notes. We got a spring game to play next week. There's a lot now going on with Carolina football. We'll get into hoops and the Board of Trustees mess as well. So JC will be here when we get back on the JB and Goldwater Show. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about. Stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour. Yeah, I still don't see any sun out there, Darren.
No.
All right. I just want to make sure there's no sun on your side either.
No.
Final hour on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back to JB and Goldwater Show today. Brought to you in part by Palmetto Group Insurance. Jamie Richardson, who I'm jealous of. He'll head to the Keys tomorrow to fish for a few days. Man, that's going to be awesome. But if you need insurance, don't worry. He'll hit you up when he gets back. Palmetto Group Insurance.com. Palmetto Group Insurance.com. Make sure you've downloaded our app. Make sure you are a member of the Big Spur.com as well. It's where we get all of our news, and then we turn around and regurgitate it here as our own. We don't credit anybody. We tell them that was our reporting. No beef, no bones about it. Right here, you heard it first on the JB and Goldwater Show. The owner of that site that we steal everything from is here, JC Shurburtt, as he is on every Wednesday. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater as well. Share Healthcare chat lines, guys. If you have questions, pop them in there. JC can see those in our back room as well, and we'll try to answer as many as we possibly can, JC. But the spring game is almost snuck up on us, my friend. All of a sudden, it's a week from this Saturday. It feels like spring practice just kind of started, but it's actually winding down in Columbia, and they scrimmaged last weekend. It almost felt to me, and I don't know, I have no idea, but it almost felt to me like they didn't want to say much about Spencer Rattler and what he did in the scrimmage, JC. Did it feel like that to you at all?
I don't know. It always, your first scrimmage is a mixed bag as far as
right.
Spring goes in terms of what you say and how you spin it or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that. I just
hey, by the way, I don't mean it in a way of like he didn't play well and they don't want anybody to know. I just feel like everything you just said, that's what I'm getting at. Like, yeah, let's be careful with how we talk about Spencer Rattler and what he has done in the scrimmage and is doing. It's April.
Yeah, that's my point. You have first scrimmages that, you're in a new place. I don't know that everybody expected. I mean, and you're going up against what should be a good defense and
should be,
an experienced secondary. With now they have Cam Smith working nickel, and then you got Rush and Dial on the outside. That's a solid trio. Devontae Reed, RJ Roderick. The starting secondary is actually pretty good, and Red knows it. And it's you're in a new place, running a new offense. Anything can happen. I think it's unfortunate, and I'm not blaming the Spurs Up Show guys for putting this out because some of the players put it on their Instagram, and I think that's fair game for a lot of people. I don't do it, but a clip of the Mohamed Kaba picking Rattler off made it out from the scrimmage.
I had no idea.
The high angle. Yeah, people were discussing it and stuff. Spurs Up Show guy put it out, but that's fine.
Didn't see that.
I'm not blaming him, but I do think that fans sometimes when they see something like that, and you just had kind of a bad year on offense that wasn't so bad down the stretch, people get worried because the expectations are through the roof. But look, man, I mean, first scrimmage in the spring, defense should be ahead of the offense, and I'll tell Gamecock fans this: there was no spring in 2020. Right. And so
there was a spring. There was a spring.
Yeah, there was a season. There's no spring football. I think after 3 days they got wiped out.
I mean, the pandemic didn't shut down the season or the month or anything.
They didn't shut down the month. It's like, I mean, it felt like it. It felt like it because I tell Tom, and it was my first winter in Chicago, right? And so I tell time by the weather and sports, so it was April and snowing. And there was no baseball on TV. I didn't know what the hell month it was, until June 1st got here. And I was like, oh, it's warm now. And then I was like, well, there's no baseball, I mean, it was awful. But anyway, so all I heard preseason in 2020 was offense is going up and down the field. Colin Hill's diced them up. They can't stop the run, blah, blah, blah. And I think as frustrated as everybody got with Colin Hill and that offense in 2020, outside of Kevin Harris, I think you saw that defense be historically bad. Even with all the talent they had. Now, defenses were bad that year or whatever. But I tend to believe that if your offense is ahead of your defense early, unless your defense just lost everybody and you got a bunch of new players and your offense has a bunch of veterans, you always wanted to follow that script of defense is ahead of the offense in that first scrimmage. And Shane Beamer talked about that, then said the offense responded the next day. That's just normally how it goes when you're dealing with a team that's, got it together on both sides of the ball. I mean, Coach Spurrier's first scrimmages at South Carolina, no matter who he had, oh my gosh, he'd have a red face. Man, he's got the best of us today. Shoot, man, we're awful. Gosh, can't even complete a pass. I mean, and I'm not talking about that time he was joking about it. He would not be happy with the offense every first scrimmage, be it in the spring or be it, in the preseason. So I heard the feedback from that scrimmage. I heard exactly what I wanted to hear. It still gives me confidence. I think a lot of the passing game's timing. When the bullets are flying live, that timing sometimes is you got to. That's why you practice and you scrimmage. You got to get that down. As far as Rattler goes, I've heard things like could be one of the best offensive players in the history of the program. This guy is the real deal. This guy doesn't miss. I've heard nothing but positive things about his performance throughout the totality of spring. And I think Gamecock fans should remain excited. The good news is, that on defense, heck, if you went and stopped the Rattler, you're going to play some quarterbacks that are just as good as he is, during the season. And that's a positive thing, I think, if you're talking about the overall team and how things should shake out this year.
Yeah, I love what you said earlier, that there are no excuses. I didn't really honestly think that there should have been a ton last year, but as the dust has settled, JC, and we look back, as bad as it was offensively, a lot of times I had somebody mention the other day that said, I think we found that it wasn't as bad as we thought it was. I said, oh no, you're dead wrong. It was that bad. They had two really good games and one that was good enough, and the rest of it was awful. But with that said, in year two, I do find a lot of optimism because, JC, in any system, it could be Spurrier system, the Satterfield system, the McVay system, the whatever system you want to roll out there, the triple option, if you want to bring back Lou Holtz and what he did. Anytime you have continuity in a system, at some point it becomes about the players that are in it and less about the system, right? Is that fair? So
I think it is. Yeah. I mean, you need players, obviously.
You need players. And they have kept the offensive line together, and they've lost Saquandre White and Kevin Harris, who are outstanding running backs. But they have added a healthy Marshawn Lloyd back to the mix. They've added the leading rusher from Wake Forest. There shouldn't really be a drop-off there, if any. The wide receiver group is better. The tight end group is as good, if not better. And we all know that the quarterback position is better. So overall, from a talent standpoint, in the second year of a system, they have upgraded the personnel. So optimistic might even be a light term. I mean, should this offense be good?
I think it should be. I mean, the biggest question I have is probably the offensive line. But that's just because they really struggled at times last year. And as Coach Beamer pointed out the other day, you see a play get blown up. It's not always on the line, the five linemen. Sometimes it's the tight end, sometimes the receiver, which, when it was that, I kind of felt like, well, this is probably why you're probably doing something too complex. But I'm not gonna go there. I look at the line, and I think in the middle, you have Eric Douglas, who's played solid football, not ideal, in there at center. He has to have a better year, I think, and get stronger and meaner and tougher. I really like what they have with Vershawn Lee. I thought, gosh, when he played last year individually, you focus on him. He's really good. Javon Gwynn struggles sometimes in pass protection, but there's not a tougher guy on the team. That's another reason I knew they were confused, because Javon would block air sometimes. I'm like, that's not a guy that shies away from contact at all, Yeah. And then I'll tell you what, I like Tyshawn Wanamaker at tackle. If you looked at some pictures of him during off-season workouts, he's trimmed up. Greg Atkins compared him to a guy named Aaron Sears, who was a heck of a tackle at Tennessee. I think got drafted. And then I thought at the end of last year that a lot of people talk about, I think this is what they did in the bowl game. Jalen Nichols went back to tackle, and I thought played pretty well. And I think, you got a guy that's 315, 325 in Jalen. I think it's intriguing to put him at guard. But, you look at what he did as a true freshman, starting at right tackle at Georgia. And the Gamecocks won that game, and he held his own against some of those monsters that grew into the monsters we saw last year on their defense, right? Yeah. And I think he kind of found a home toward the end of last season. So, you sort of look at the personnel. I'm concerned about center. I'm a little concerned about Gwynn taking that next step. Both those guys have been here for forever. So you hope they're saving their best for last. But, a little concerned about that. But, there's really no reason because offensive line, and look, this is one thing we probably, while we were griping last year, and rightfully so, we probably didn't take into account when we talked about the offensive line being confused. This was their third offense in 3 years. And they're all quite different. You go from what BMAC did, which is a lot of spread, splits, that kind of thing, zone blocking, to what Bobo did, which is a lot of smash mouth man blocking along with zone blocking, and they held their own there. And then you go back to kind of a zone or man pro style deal, and heck, 3 in 3 years. I mean, the receivers were on their third receivers coach in 3 years, third offensive coordinator in 3 years. Sometimes that makes you overload a little bit. I still think I still don't buy that completely, but I do think that there's something to be said for that, and something to be said for the quarterback situation and all that. And that's what you got to hope. You got to hope that last year was last year for a lot of reasons, and that this year they're humming up and down the field. And, like I said, I saw, from what I heard out of the scrimmage and the info I got, was exactly what I wanted to hear with the defense being ahead of the offense.
JC Shurburtt, 118 on a Wednesday afternoon here on the JB and Goldwater show. With as bad as it was at times, and it was, I mean, look, I think that it's better for a lot of reasons, which we're going to discuss today and continue to discuss for the next 5 months. Buckle in, everybody. Generally, if you have a program, JC, that is easy as it is now, that has lost faith in its system or in a coach that has great influence in the program. Marcus, when you have your offensive coordinator has a lot of influence in your program, they're a coordinator, you will see guys kind of start to ease on out of there. We're not done with transfers. They're still over the scholarship limit, so South Carolina is still going to have to trim some fat after this spring specifically. But it is as tough as things could be at times last year offensively. They didn't have a mass exodus of players. So you would like to think that if there was some major issue with the offensive system that is in place, that some of the better players would have said, "Oh my God, I got to get out of here," and that has not happened. They're all there. Is that what does that tell you?
Well, it's when you think about it, that's true. And I mean, look, man, these offensive linemen, you hear things, right? And you hear, well, if Wolf had stayed, all these guys are going to leave. And then you hear, well, they don't like playing for Adkins and these rumors. And I don't think a lot of them are true. And then you turn around and, man, I mean, you're going to need a stick of dynamite to get these guys out of your program. It's unbelievable because they're not leaving. I mean, the Wolf of Wall Street deal or whatever. But, a guy like Dylan Wando, who's recovering from an injury, I think he's kind of an X factor. Or Jazz Turnintide. I mean, he's still here, even though he got beat out. I mean, it's I mentioned Eric Douglas. He can't seem to get enough. He committed during the Spurrier era.
That's
right. As a rising junior, to Sean. I remember Sean Elliott was there. It was 2015 before Spurs last year, and Eric Douglas is sitting there at camp. So gosh, that's a long time ago, guy. That's, from recruit till now. And so, I think that's a positive sign for the program. I think that speaks volumes about what Shane Beamer as the head coach and those coaches and the people off the field have built culture-wise. Because, quite frankly, you see a lot of folks get on up out of there. I mean, Arkansas lost another defensive player today that played a lot, which surprises me, because I kind of thought Sam Pittman was a culture guy. But, Carolina has not suffered a lot of attrition. And there's some players you look at, like today I went through the list. I mean, Jamar Brown, I felt like, his one mistake he made last year and the fact he couldn't stay healthy, that's kind of what held him back. But I thought he's a hell of a player, and I think he still is. Could you use him? Yeah, probably. You look at a Colby Fields, who obviously, was part of the homecoming that Brian Kelly, Brian Kelly had so many roster spots to fill. I say it all the time. I think they hung out a shingle in Baton Rouge that said, if you want to come on back down here to the Bayou and you're from Louisiana and you play in the SEC, you come on. And sure enough, Colby Fields hits the portal, and I'm like, And I'm like, I bet he's going to LSU. And people, of course, these days, if you're not a star as a freshman, they're like, yeah, he's garbage. He's just a 3-star or whatever. Sure enough, he ends up at LSU. So watch him. So, yeah, I mean, you miss him at linebacker, I think, as a good young player. But they didn't really have the type of attrition that, say, Arkansas or LSU did. Even Georgia lost Jermaine Burton, of all people, to Alabama. It was weird.
Yeah.
I mean, there weren't those types of losses. And then you look at the players Carolina brought in, and they're all pretty good, I mean, and so that says something, I think, that lack of attrition. Now, attrition is not over. Carolina's scholarship numbers are over right now. And so you're going to probably see, maybe double-digit departures after spring. And I'll say this, it's going to be unfortunate because people in the national media, these folks out here that are saying, oh, Carolina is going to win 5 games next year or whatever, which I don't know how you can look at it and say that, but maybe not. They're going to start writing about, oh, South Carolina's lost 10 players in the portal this summer. They have to lose players because they have to get under the 85, and they're way over right now. So, get ready for that narrative to be out there. And, hope the same people that, refuse to, read anything about Dawn Staley other than what was on Fox News this past weekend and jumped to all these conclusions aren't part of consuming the content that makes it sound like the football program's in dire straits because 10 guys left after spring. That's something that has to happen. It's inevitable. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
On the defensive side of the football, JC, a name I poked around a little bit, probably not as much as you have, and those that work at the Big Spur like Hale and Tony and John and everybody else, but the name Devontae Reed keeps coming up. I've asked 3 times, give me a name for somebody that is under the radar, somebody we're not talking about that we will be talking about come September. And I've heard 3 different times, man, this Devontae Reed guy, there's something special about him. What do you know about Devontae Reed and what he's done thus far in spring practice?
I mean, there's some people out there that think he's not a coverage guy, but all you got to do is, is he perfect? No, but I mean, the way they play their safeties, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of a ball hawk, really, and he will stick you. The kid's from Detroit, Michigan, and again, you talk about expanding the recruiting base. You look up, all of a sudden, Carolina's got players in the 2 deep from Detroit, Michigan, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Lake Forest, Illinois, if you count Kai Kroger. So they're getting into the Big Ten country a little bit, but tough guy. You listened to his interview, his first interview he gave when he arrived at Carolina. It's one of the most impressive interviews I've ever heard. And of all the interviews that the new guys gave, I felt they were all, different and all impressive. Terrell Dawkins is real funny, and Spencer Rattler, said some really good things, and Labasia Carroll said some good things and all that. But Devontae Reed really stood out to me as far as like his business-like approach and how, like, his questions all led back to football. These guys are all, and they weren't like, bad answers. Like, I'm just going to go play ball and I'm just here so I don't get fined or whatever. He was like really in depth, sharp. And you have to be smart to play safety, as Will Muschamp said a lot during his tenure at South Carolina. I think that guy's a smart, heady football player that's athletic, and he will knock you into next week and loves the game. And he's here to make it to the NFL. I mean, that's why you leave home and go to an SEC program. You hit the portal and, you look at some of the plays he made against really good teams for the Swamp Donkey up in Ypsilanti or wherever, and heck, they went to the Sun Bowl last year, man. Central Michigan they were down in Arizona at a bowl, and then I guess COVID knocked the Pac-12 team or whatever out of the Sun Bowl. And so lo and behold, Central Michigan goes to the Sun Bowl in good old El Paso, Texas, and plays. He played well. I think he had a pick 6 at LSU. I mean, the guy, and look, you look at his offer list: Texas, Florida, North Carolina. I mean, all these schools came in on him, and the Gamecocks had him in. He fell in love with the place. He liked it, and he's ready to roll. So he's going to be a big deal, I think, by because when you're talking about trying to replace All-American production in Jalen Foster, you got R.J. Roderick on the other side, and they need to find some depth. But that doesn't surprise me at all about Reed. And when you think about this, JB, Cam Smith's probably not staying at nickel because David Spalding will be back, and he was a starter there last year. Yeah. And then they got some guys coming in. But if you think about this, you got Cam Smith on one side, you got the platoon of Darius Rush and Marcellus Dial on the other. You got Isaiah Norris, a JUCO that redshirted last year over there behind Smith. You got young corners coming in. And then back there, you got Roderick and Reed as your starters. Roderick's played a ton. Roderick's another one like Eric Douglas. He's played a ton of football around here. Maybe he'll save his best for last. I thought he got better last year, to be honest. Tyrese Ross is behind them, and then there's some freshmen. So you look at this, at least the frontline guys in the secondary, and you're probably a little more, optimistic than you were last year when there were a lot of unknowns. And you guys know how good Torian Gray and Clayton White coach those guys up back there. You start combining that with a defensive front that has a lot of talent and some depth, especially on the interior. And, Brad Johnson and Sherrod Green are members of the old man club as well. And they're the starters at linebacker right now. You've got an old, experienced, and talented defense when you put all those pieces together. They just have to, and I can't stress this enough, you have to find depth not only for this season, but next season. South Carolina is going to take some significant personnel losses. And so you got to get some guys behind them ready to roll next year. You know, so you don't have to depend on the portal and things like that, and you know, all that stuff.
I found this interesting. One of the sources, I guess you'd call him, that I spoke to about Devontae Reed. I said, well, who does he remind you of? Who does he remind you of before I say what the name that was given to me? Now, granted, we haven't seen him in a Gamecock uniform just yet.
If I go Gamecock player, I'm going to say Darion Stewart. Just because Darion would knock you into next Tuesday, but he also had some coverage skills. You know, Antonio Allen was more of a longer, like taller, lengthier type athlete back there, but probably Darion Stewart. And I don't know that he's not as big as Holloman. So I would not say Holloman. I'd probably say Darion Stewart on him.
The name that I was referred to, and again, you're right, a little bit of a different body type, but the way that they played the game and kind of commanded the field, Co Simpson. And if he is anything near Co Simpson, Carolina's got a good one, because Co Simpson was some kind of fun. You know, if you remember Co, I know you remember Co, but if anybody out there doesn't, I mean, he was not the fastest guy on the field. You know, he wasn't going to blow you away in every little drill that you did, but when he played, he knew what the hell was going on. He was a leader. Yeah. I mean, he just played football. I mean, he was one of those guys. And I said, Co Simpson. That's interesting. I think Co was about 6 foot, 6'1", maybe a little bit heavier than Devontae Reed, maybe. But I hope he's like Co Simpson.
I mean, Co Simpson, how many pick sixes did he have during his career? Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget the 2004 Georgia game. I mean, that guy was, you know, unreal. And then, you know, so one of the things about the first Spurrier team, a lot of people don't think about, because their defensive front was not. I mean, it was like Chris Tucker and the Lindsey twins, and you know, the defensive front. You know, DeAdrian Cooley. I mean,
hey man, he was cool.
And Ricardo Hurley was at linebacker, and he ends up getting beat out by one of the other Lindsey twins, and he was lazy. Solidified things, but. But one of the things people don't talk about was on the back end, they were elite, because you had Jonathan Joseph at a corner spot, and then you had Co.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Fred Bennett was back there at the other one. You know, you're talking about
Fred guys. You're talking about the first year under Spurrier?
First year, 05.
Yeah. So Fred would have been probably, a sophomore or junior that year?
Junior, and then the next year he was a senior and played back there with Carlos Thomas and Captain Munnerlin. And they had one injury at corner that year. Whew, good Lord. There was nobody behind those three guys, no. You know, in 06. But 05, that was it. And so people don't even talk about that much. I remember that Tennessee game up in Knoxville. Jonathan Joseph had a really big game. So those guys were very helpful, I think, for Tyrone Nix and those defensive coaches.
They all played in the NFL combined like 40 years.
Yeah.
They were really good. I mean, Jonathan Joseph, you can make an argument, one of the top 4 or 5 greatest Gamecocks to ever play in the NFL. Dude played in the league for 20 years.
He just now retired, man. I mean, you know, and who'd have thought it? I mean, he was really, really good. I mean, there was a reason he was picked. I think he was picked 15th, 16th, something like top 20. Yeah. Just a really good player. But yeah, I'll take that Co Simpson comparison. I
hope so.
You know what I think about it? You know, because a lot of times, you know, when you evaluate football talent, when you're talking about, you know, players and stuff, and I've done this a lot, my tendency is to just revert to that. And, you know, Co Simpson had tremendous length in his arms and, you know, things like that. So he probably was closer to Antonio Allen in my mind. But like I said, I haven't seen Devontae play, and so you know, except for the film and stuff. So I'm gonna try to kind of check that out. I'm really looking forward to seeing him in the spring game, and just praying he and the rest of the safeties back there stay healthy. It's Torian Gray broke it down the other day. He was like, well, we got Roderick and we got Reed and we got Tyrese Ross. And he started listing all these walk-ons, and I'm like, oh, wow.
No.
and I'm like, I can't believe we're talking about dang depth at safety for the 7th straight year, but I guess we are. I mean, I don't know how hard it is. And look, these guys signed a bunch of numbers back there, so I think just the law of averages means that the safety situation is going to work itself out pretty quick. But I mean, around in the Southeast, I don't know, is it that hard to sign safeties? I mean, come on, I don't know. And Muschamp signed some good guys on paper. They just couldn't play dead in the movie sometimes.
That's true. Let's see here. Hey, Lisa. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. She said, I was there Saturday for the Ladies' Day clinic. The defense is definitely ahead of the offense, but I expect that to change. Got to give Rattler time to learn the offense and put that into practice. Lisa, thank you for having a good head on your shoulders.
Yeah,
that is for sure. Craig wants to know, what are you hearing about RJ Barrett? And how about I'll expand that in general, JC, the defensive line for South Carolina. They like that group.
Oh, I don't. Is this a nickname somebody's given Nick Barrett, RJ Barrett, or am I just
yeah, probably.
Because I didn't know about Juice until the other day, and I don't like to call him.
Yeah.
I never called Kingsley Enagbare.
No, it's JJ.
I never called him JJ for a while. I refused to because you know why? Because people kept calling DeCarrion Joyner Dak.
Yeah,
and he doesn't go by Dak. It's DK or Carrion.
Right.
People just called him Dak, and I was like, well, I got to be careful with that. But anyway, Nick Barrett, who, by the way, is some kind of like Rhodes Scholar. I guess he enrolled last spring, and I think it was on the president's list. That's bigger than the dean's list. The president's list is you got to have, so your academics in order there. Honors student.
Craig's been drinking already today. RJ Barrett, and now he called him Knock. Craig's all fired up for the Masters. He's already got his Bloody Marys.
About to have a few myself to wait for that 15-1 baseball shellacking that's coming the Gamecocks way tonight. So anyway, no, Nick Barrett. So he came in 6'2", 315. Hard worker, Eastern North Carolina, Goldsboro, home of Dave Odom. As I pause, and a pretty good strip club, but I'll tell that story another time. That's a place you go get D linemen. Nobody got out to see him, so the North Carolina staff was like, "Oh, he's 5'11". Well, lo and behold, he's not. He's 6'3". Gets to Carolina. Muschamp got him committed, and they kept him, and he signed, and he's all in, and he's just worked his butt off. Now, the other guy that Shane Beamer mentioned, I'm glad he mentioned it. Because he said, I've been high on this guy since October, is TJ Sanders, another guy out of D-line heaven, out of Marion, South Carolina, I believe. Big, tall, rangy, 6'5", 275 coming out raw, but a guy that has a lot of upside. Oh, lo and behold, now, guys, he's 6'5", 315 and a holy terror. And see, that's two defensive linemen to back up the D-line, D tackles that they have there, and then they signed several D tackles in this class, and they're going to get several more. And so, man, the depth on the interior of the D line, Jimmy Lindsey has a lot to work with, and I think people should be fired up and excited about those guys, as well as Tonka Hemingway, Rick Sandage, and Boogie Huntley, who Boogie may start this year. He showed some flashes last year. Tonka showed some flashes as a freshman, kind of adjusted to playing inside. So, I think inside there it's looking pretty good. And I'll say this too: people, they want to criticize the inside guys because of the run defense last year. Some of that was on them. Okay, the Clemson game, I'll say they got blown off the ball. There's no question about it. But a lot of it was linebacker play, and a lot of times your D linemen are supposed to keep the guards off, and the linebacker makes the tackle. Well, if the linebacker steps in the wrong hole or he's not quite quick enough, then the linebacker has to recover. And I don't think Damani Staley was ideal at that.
Played his tail off, though. Got to give him a lot of credit.
Yeah, there's no question. And most of the time he was in the right spot. But, linebackers get bounced out of gaps. And so he gets out of position. He doesn't have the recovery speed. Like you watched Georgia this year, for example, Nakobe Dean.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I'm about to compare Damani Staley to Kobe Dean, but Alabama runs this play, right? One of their RPOs, and Nakobe's way over there, right? On the left side of the field. The pass goes right. Beautiful pass, Bryce Young. He's wide open. All of a sudden, from the left corner of your screen, Nakobe Dean comes like a flash, boom, and it's only an 8-yard gain. Whereas when you're a little slower of foot at linebacker, that's going to be 40, whether it's run game, pass game, whatever. And so, the hope is with Sherrod Green back, Brad Johnson has another year, Mokaba, Debo Williams, the linebacking core is a little bit more quick. I don't expect Nakobe Dean. Nobody should, but I think there's a chance for them to be better, along with improved play on the interior, which I fully expect.
Pretty neat story surrounding Brad Johnson as well. For the first time in the history of college football, a young man will have his grandkids in the stand watching him play this year.
What?
I'm just kidding. Brad just feels like he's been at South Carolina for 30 years. And
he was part of the. All right, so I'm gonna go.
He was
back
part of
there.
Coach Holtz's second.
Coach Holtz's. he came in with Coach Simpson, right? No. Actually, you look back. Okay, so who's still? So the 2017 class, it was Muschamp's first full cycle. Okay, so who's still there? MJ Webb's still there. Brad Johnson's still there. Chad Terrell hanging in, still there. Eric Douglas still there. Sherrod Green still there.
Chad Terrell, not to interrupt you, Chad Terrell is going to be an interesting case study at the end of the spring, JC. They've plugged him in at tight end. I know they've been light in that department, awaiting Austin Stogner to arrive and trying to get some other things filled out. But, he hadn't contributed much at the wide receiver position. I don't know. I'll just be interested to see if he is in the portal or not, frankly.
Yeah, and that's always a possibility. I think he may have new life at tight end. He's always been a bigger kid. He had too many knee injuries, I think, to maintain what speed he had. He wasn't a burner coming out of high school, kind of a possession guy. Carolina beat Oregon for him, of all places, and Oregon, they don't recruit speed deficient, but he's been hurt too much. Well, now if he can get up to 230, 235, he's athletic enough and has good enough hands, I think, to give them some depth there. And depth is an issue because, if you're not going to move E.J. Jenkins back to tight end, and I don't think they are as of now, and you're going to play Jaheim Bell all over the place, as you should, that leaves Austin Stogner and Trey Kenyon, and you don't have anybody else. And you run a lot of multiple tight end sets and things like that in this offense. And so, you got a Chad Terrell over there. You got a Wyatt Campbell over there. And, see what those guys can do. And maybe they can help you blocking and in the passing game and give you some depth. So he may have a new lease on life. I did notice one of the players today was talking about playing basketball. And they said, who's your starting five of football players? And, Chad Terrell was one of them. So he has to have some kind of athleticism, right, to be that good at hoops. And so he may have a new lease on life. He may be in the portal. Who knows? You can go through the roster and sort of guess on some guys. But, I don't know. I mean, when you start talking about guys moving here, there, and yonder, it gets really interesting. So, and Tyreke Johnson, who's going to be a backup DN this year. He's another. So there's like 7 guys from Muschamp's first full cycle class still on the roster.
Wow.
So, I mean, this is an older group this year, including both starting linebackers, Brad Johnson and Sherrod Green.
Where do you think, JC, and I do want to move on here to some other things, but where do you think we will see from a position group standpoint? And I believe somebody, by the way, I'm sorry that I missed this. Let me, Ashtash 31 asked, what do you know about Omega Blake? So I'll just lump that into this conversation. How is he developing a wide receiver? Where do you think, or what position group will have the most attrition, JC? I feel like wide receiver would be up there. There's a lot of guys who have seemingly been replaced in the last few months via the transfer portal.
Wide receiver, I think the interior of the D line, just because you've got 5-6 guys. If you count Sandage and MJ Webb, who both have played a lot, you got 6 guys in front of you. And, and if you haven't played yet and you've been here a while, you may want to go consider someplace else. So I think the interior of the D-line, I think you will see some defensive backs move on. And definitely some there's a list at wide receiver. That's why I think, maybe Chad Terrell has some new life. Because I'd be lying just because he hadn't played, and he's stuck around. I'd be lying if I said I didn't think he may be a guy that hits the portal. But if he's going to be a tight end, that may change things. So, yeah. But I think that, cross your fingers. I think the running back room isn't in danger of anything. You could see a quarterback leave. I mean, just because, heck, there's 5 of them, and all that. But you look at that receiver position, and then, of course, on the offensive line as well, there may be some younger players that, are never going to pan out or maybe need, some more. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to project that. So that's what I think, and I think it'll come from everywhere. And, I'd have to go through the roster again and really, I guess, sketch some names out, which I'm not going to. I mean, I don't want to do that before spring practice. I mean, because it would just be a guess, and these guys are all kind of working hard, and I don't want to, say, oh, this guy definitely needs to be gone or anything like that. But when the time comes, we'll certainly examine it.
Today is National Student Athlete Day. All of these student athletes and everyone around the country should be celebrated. So if you have a student athlete in your family or your community, neighborhood, whatever it is, give them a call. Tell them you're thinking about them. And if you have Darren's number, give him a call as well, because it's New Beers Eve. Tomorrow is National Beer Day. And so Darren is going to get hammered at 2:01 today.
Oh, the latest rollout of the brand new Miller Lite is what you should bring me.
See, there you go. Give Darren a call and listen to him slur his speech around 3:00 this afternoon. Not driving, of course. JC, I want to shift gears and touch on hoops real quick. The ladies, it's amazing, man. It's amazing what Dawn has built. She wins the national championship. There's been a ton of reaction to that, so we're not going to spend much time on it. But I want to ask you a question that I asked Keith yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
She, in acknowledging Coach Tanner and Dr. Pastides and the fans and Darren, she acknowledged the highlighters.
Yeah, my buddy's son elbowed his way right up there. He was standing right next to the podium.
That was neat.
It was. Dawn, he got a big kick out of it too.
Dawn, I appreciated that about Dawn. She made sure that people who don't get a lot of recognition, including the athletics director, were recognized amongst that crowd. But then she brought up Lamont Paris, and she said 4 words, JC, that really stuck out to me. And I want to ask you about this. She said, "Give him a chance." What do you think she meant by that?
Just what it says. I mean, give him a chance. I mean, today, then look, I understand people. I was critical of the search and how it went down. I thought, it's one of those searches that probably could have gone better. The end result, though, if you're going to go the mid-major route, it's always a crapshoot. This school's due to hit on a mid-major coach. They've only hired 2 since McGuire. They're both disasters. I don't get a disaster vibe from Lamont Paris, I hope. But you never know, is my point. Who thought that, Alabama hires Anthony Grant, who's, one of the hottest names in coaching, and he fails. And they go hire Avery Johnson, who all of a sudden is recruiting 5 stars from the NBA, and everybody's surprised, and then he fails. And then they go get this weird guy with a funny jacket from Buffalo named Nate Oates, and Alabama basketball is suddenly back, right? You just never know. And so I think, I think that's true. Give him a chance. It doesn't do anybody any good. I heard a comment today on the read a comment today on the message board. It was like, You know, Gigi Jackson, they were talking about Gigi Jackson maybe going to North Carolina, and that could happen or whatever. It's like, oh, well, yeah, go to North Carolina or come here and play for some no-name coach. And I'm like, I think he'd go to North Carolina because it's North Carolina. And it's one of the best programs in the country.
Yeah.
And this one, unfortunately, is not. You know, I mean,
we just talked to JR about this yesterday.
And I almost, and I didn't want to, because I don't want to call out the fans, but
I will.
I mean, look at it, man. I mean, you want to go play at the Dean Dome in front of 20,000, or you want to come here where everybody's making comments like that about your coach because they have a problem with the athletic director, and nobody shows up, and people gripe and complain, you know, all the time. No, I mean, it's, you know, sometimes, and look, fans are fans, and fans are going to act how they act. There's no question about it. But at some point, you know, I think this university, this fan base has to move past the savior, coach, athletic director, you name it, complex. I think those days are over. The Mike McGee era is long in the past. You're not going to put the cart before the horse in most instances. You know, you're not going to go make a hire like Steve Spurrier. Or you aren't going to hire Rick Pitino this time. I mean, obviously, Sean Miller, people were excited about that, and then, you know, he took the better job. You know, you're going to have to kind of, and especially in the era with NIL, you know, fans in the greater community, they're going to have to do their part to get it going, especially with NIL. You know, because you're in a situation now where, you know, a coach is not necessarily going to come in by himself and save you. And, oh, by the way, then you can support the program. There's no more show me mode in college athletics, especially at South Carolina. You know, so if you want to win, you know, doing things like not coming to the Vanderbilt game last year because you're pissed off about Marcus Satterfield's offense, and all those recruits see a bunch of empty seats at Williams-Brice. You know, that's fine. You can do what you want, but, you know, that's not on Shane Beamer if he loses a recruit because of that, after bragging about the fan base. And you know, I'm hopeful that the crowds do return to the stadium next year, because there were some embarrassing crowds. I think COVID had a little to do with it, et cetera. I'm not putting it all on the fans, but, you know, the days of saying, oh, well, if we could just go hire Tom Jurich as AD, he'd clean it up and he'd start winning again. That's not going to happen. You know, you're not going to go get the Spurrier Holtz level hires. You know, the best you could probably hope for is a Frank Martin or Eddie Fogler level hire, a hire kind of like Ray Tanner was when he was hired as a baseball coach. You know, it just doesn't happen. And those were unprecedented times. And even if you could make a hire like that, those guys, right, with NIL and the transfer portal and everything else, they're not going to be able to save you. You know, I mean, like I said, the days of, you know, let's fire somebody and then fix it with somebody that we all can rally behind, and then we'll start getting behind it at every single program. Those days are over, unfortunately. And so, and I hope, and I think the fan base for the most part gets it. There's a few folks out there that, you know, that comment from Dawn was probably directed at. But, yeah, you should give him a chance. And, hey, you know what? If he doesn't win in 2 or 3 years and things are a disaster, you just fire him and move on. But, you know, the days of saying having a mandate to go get someone that's done big things somewhere else, and then that's the only way to success, those days are over at South Carolina and everywhere else. You know, it's got to be a commitment from everyone, you know, and I want to include the baseball program in that, but I do think there could be a pretty doggone good coach that ends up at South Carolina or two if that job comes open. But it's nobody like Spurrier or Holtz is what I'm saying. I mean, you know, and baseball is going to need NIL money. They're going to need fan support. They're going to need things just like the other programs. So that's my take.
Well, to steal the words from one of our good buddies, JC, Mike Morgan, coaching hires are a crapshoot. I would assume that Georgia did not foresee Tom Crean going 1-17 in his final year as head coach in the SEC at Georgia. 6-26 or whatever it was. I mean, it was god awful. And then you mentioned Nate Oates, and you can mention Eric Musselman at Arkansas. Yeah, there's some that work out. Rick Barnes has certainly done so, and Bruce Pearl, but it's a crapshoot. That's just the point. I don't know that there's one model that you need to follow. You need to have your own model, what fits your program, and this is where Coach Tanner landed. So we'll judge it in 2 or 3 years, and we'll move on from there. Final one, JC, you mentioned fire and move on. How about the Board of Trustees? The article out yesterday, I know that you wrote one as well. The Post and Courier is kind of deep in this here, following along. Jay Lucas has sponsored a bill to redo the whole thing, take them all out. Doesn't mean they can't get voted back in. It would drop it from 21 to 13. The Board of Trustees itself, it would remove the governor as having an official vote, from what I understand. And again, those who are on the Board of Trustees, if they would like to be voted in, they can, but this would do away with all of the current members in the 23 summer of 23, I think is when this would take place. So your thoughts on that information, is that good or bad?
I think it's very, very positive. I think it's a step in the right direction. Based on a lot of conversations I've had, and I've had a lot of conversations about this with a lot of people. I'm thankful that I was able to report on this story like I was, because I think it's probably one of the most important stories South Carolina related I've ever reported on. And you look and you see the sheer incompetence when the 5 Board of Trustees members, who I assume thought they were just going to rubber stamp. They had no answers for anything. It was embarrassing, the lack of knowledge they had about athletics, the public embarrassments where you have a 2 of the top boosters are mega donors on the academic side being alienated by this bunch. You've had 2 fiascos of a search with, to search for a president, including hiring Caslin, who, probably wasn't as much of a disaster given what he did a pretty good job with getting the university through COVID, but, was a disaster in a lot of other ways.
He was probably a PR disaster.
PR disaster. You got turned down by somebody at Purdue, for the and you have all these toxic situations. And, so you look at it, you're like, you've always heard about the Board of Trustees being this big Gamecock boogeyman. And everybody's always talked about it. But, you look and you see, and all this is public record from the State House, the testimony they gave last Monday, and you could see why. I was shocked. I had no idea it was that bad. So I started talking to some sources and got on it. And, I think what this is going to do is not only it ends the tenure for right now of the folks on the board, all of them. They can rerun if they want to. And then, it divides it up, shrinks the board, puts it into congressional districts, then some at-large people from satellite campus counties. The governor no longer has a vote. He gets 2 appointees. People are griping about that, but man, there's boards of trustees around the country that I've checked up on where the governor reports in Oregon. The governor, and that Oregon governor, my goodness, she appoints everybody, on that. So there's some states where the governor, it's an executive appointment across the board. So, I think it's the most positive thing for Carolina right now. And I think, just in talking to people after the story broke that this is what they were going to look at, that there are going to be some very, very competent Gamecocks, Carolina people that have a better beat on how to run the school, more ideas about how to take the university to the next level, both academically and athletically. That aren't really meddlers. There are more people that just, chill out and let the people do their job. And if they need to step in, they need to step in. Much more like the Gamecock boosters, the mega donors for athletics.
Yeah.
People always confuse that. And they say, well, the board of trustees is full of all the money folks. That's not true. There's maybe one, but the rest of those guys aren't what you would call South Carolina's major athletics boosters. Carolina's boosters are some of the best in the country. You can ask anybody about how they operate, compared to some other boosters. But this board has been self-important for too long. They've meddled in athletics for too long. It's tough to get anything done when you have 22 bosses. I'm all for it. I expect it to pass. And I'm glad some of these guys' days are numbered. And then there's the 5 that did not make it out of committee last week who I don't know if they'll be back or not under any circumstances. And quite frankly, I would lean towards not. Just because, when you get up in front of a committee like that and you share the answers you do in such a clueless manner, in a defensive, clueless, awful manner, you've embarrassed the university one too many times and deserve to be gone.
There was a major disconnect going on there. That was JC. I think you and I talked about it. You said you thought it was sad to see some of this, and I thought some of the questions from the General Assembly weren't necessarily appropriate or fair, but at the same time, I thought a lot of the answers were awful and throwing under the bus of fellow board members, the athletics director. I mean, they basically acted like Ray Tanner just runs off rogue and does whatever he wants to do. It was pretty embarrassing. I think if anything, you could disregard many of the answers that were given in lieu of the fact that it's just a cluster. Forget the responses. Who cares about the responses? Some of the responses don't matter as much as the fact that either nobody knows what's going on or everybody knows what's going on and is willing to lie about it and throw everybody else under the bus. That was either way. It doesn't matter. They're both horrible. So
I mean, the consensus from these folks seemed to be that they shouldn't give buyouts anymore in athletics.
Mm-hmm.
And look, Dick Harpootlian was wrong with what he was saying. All it would have taken was, hey, Dick, this is the price of doing business in the Southeastern Conference. That's the league we compete in. I know that the Muschamp extension was a source of controversy, but we haven't been given those kinds of extensions anymore. Our athletic director's taking care of it. And that money did not come from taxpayer money unless you're really fiddling with everything and using some kind of trickle-down funnel to determine this. It came out of the general fund of the university, and it got paid back in full with interest.
Right.
And nobody said that. Instead, they're like, well, I wish we wouldn't have any buyouts. And you're like, wow, what athletic director, what coach is going to come work at South Carolina now if you're not willing to give something that's very, very, very standard in college athletics? Do I agree with it? Yeah, I think some of these buyouts are ridiculous. Jimbo Fisher's buyout, for example. Ooh.
Dabo's owed $47 million if he's fired this year.
Do I think it in some ways it's hard to feel sorry for coaches now when they get fired because of the money they get to walk away? Yeah,
of course, I get
but
it.
That's a different topic. You can't. I mean, when you're part of a conference or even part of Power 5 football in general, man, you can't just say, hey, we're not going to get buyouts anymore. Woohoo! All right. Well, everybody's leaving. Who you going to go down to the junior high school and get the love sponge to come coach your team now?
It was save my rear end type of conversations, and we all know dang well that these guys would vote for buyouts in the future.
And then the one guy just tripped over his own tongue. Harpootlian, by the way, you see why he's a pretty good lawyer, but I'm sitting there in my mind going, just say this for God's sake. Yeah. And then this one guy's finally like, well, gosh, he's like, well, Dabo has a buyout, doesn't he? And then he went, well, if you fired him, but he was like, well, you're not going to, and I'm like, holy camole. Yeah. I was like, you're the youngest person up here that's spoken. And you just really did the great Porky Pig impersonation right here in front of the dang state legislature and Dick Harpootlian and God and Jesus and Governor McMaster and everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, the others were kind of I mean, there were different levels of inconfident. I mean, there was standoffishness. There's one guy that's extremely toxic that needs to be gone yesterday. That's pissed everybody. It's a mess. And I am thankful, and I never thought I'd say this, I am thankful for the state legislature for stepping in and doing this, man. Because, I mean, it restores my faith in government. And that sometimes government does work for the best. It's overdue, but I think after that fiasco last week, there's not a person that loves the University of South Carolina, or that even maybe doesn't love the University of South Carolina, that watches that and goes, "Oh yeah, these guys got it together.
Yeah,
let's just keep rolling. Let's just keep going on with this guy. There's nothing wrong with these guys.
Keep this train on." Poor Eddie Floyd, the guy was asleep for the large majority.
Oh man, I feel bad for Dr. Floyd, because I know Dr. Floyd's heart's in the right place.
Absolutely.
As far as
and he's
his
given
love
a lot
for the university, and he's given a lot. But man, sometimes it's just time to go. I mean, Clemson's. Everybody talks about Clemson sports. They do have lifetime appointees, but those guys agreed a long time ago. They voluntarily step aside when they get to be 72.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's,
there's some
probably, probably pretty good.
JC, we got to let you run on that note, man. Thank you for spending the final hour with us. And we will look forward to previewing the spring game next Wednesday with you. TheBigSpur.com is where you need to head for all your Gamecock stuff right now. There's a lot going on in hoops, clearly. The board, definitely. There is a big game next weekend, and Carolina baseball is, searching for anything they can find.
Searching for a rainbow like the Marshall Tucker band. I might have one more thing. Be sure to tune in for Hail McGranahans.
You got it.
We will
recruiting
do that.
coverage. McGranahan. I think it's a line from Braveheart. McGranahan's daughter is a different story, Wallace. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I've run my mouth. All right.
Thanks.
Later.
See you, buddy. There you go. JC Shurburtt, owner of the BigSpur.com. Speaking of state government, today the Carolina women's basketball program was honored at the State House, and Governor McMaster proclaimed April of 2022 as South Carolina Gamecock NCAA Women's Basketball National Champions Month. That's a mouthful.
The whole month.
The whole month.
Yeah, good for them.
And, props to Carrie Tharp, who's one of the best up there at Darlington. He says that they're trying to get Dawn and the team members to the race in May to honor them for the national championship. That has been reported by Phil Kornblut. That was Sports Talk. All right, thanks to JC and Darren and all of you. Stay safe. Weather's still getting through here. We're back tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show. It is Masters Thursday. Can't wait.